Hey, everybody, it's me, Jonathan Millard, the voice of the Vale, and welcome again to another The Big Hype with myself, Jonathan Millard, and my very special guest, Mr. Robert Caswell. How are you
How
doing?
you doing? You alright? Yeah, I'm good,
Yeah,
thanks. How are you?
very good, mate, very good. Thank you so much for coming on. I wanted to get you on because I think me and you are kind of entangled a little bit in our careers in professional boxing. But before we get into that and how we know each other, why don't you introduce yourself and a little bit about yourself and how you got into boxing?
Yeah, so I started when I was about 10. Um, my granddad took me down the boxing gym for the first time. Uh, I tried every sport really, football, golf. I just didn't like any of them really. And I was like an angry kid, so he was like, just come down the boxing gym. So I went down the boxing gym when I was 10 to a local pro from our town called Johnny Armour. He was like a British champion, European champion. And then he said, "Oh, you're really good at it. You should now move on to an amateur gym." So he used to box for St Mary's in Chatham. It was the only club really local, so I went down there, and the rest is history. Really, I boxed there for about 10 years up until I was 20. I had 50 fights for them. Got to a couple of national finals. Won some box cup golds. Just travelled up and down the country, really, just boxing. I loved it.
Hmm.
And then COVID happened and it just stopped amateur boxing really. Like
It
it stopped everything, but it stopped amateur boxing. We couldn't do anything. And then I heard that like pro boxing was still happening. And I was always going to turn pro, like that was always the plan. But I wanted to
yeah.
turn pro about 21, and then I thought, right, I might as well turn pro now if nothing's happening really. So I had to look around, messaged a few people, and then yeah, went from there, and then turned pro.
So going back, obviously you said the amateurs. We've talked to other boxers about the amateurs as well. But how did you find the amateur scene? Because you're boxing pretty much week in, week out, whilst also training and whilst also sparring and everything else as well in the gym. How did you find that as a young man growing up?
Yeah, you don't realise how lucky you've got it really, until you turn pro. Like you take it for granted a little bit. You don't just do it for the fun of it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like looking back, like oh, you're trying to juggle everything, your school, your boxing, and
Mm,
you don't really know how easy you got it until you turn
yeah,
pro. So no, it was a really good time. Like you sort of like become like you get taught in from a boy into a man really at an amateur boxing club. You grow up, you make mates and you sort of like you learn some core values in life really that set you up for life. So yeah, I've really enjoyed my time as an amateur boxer.
okay. And you mentioned you started off in a pros gym then rather than an amateur gym. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was actually weird. It was his house and then he had like a gym on the side
Right.
and he was
Okay.
doing like one-to-one training from
Yeah.
there and everyone knew him. Everyone knew Johnny Ara from round where we are because
Yeah.
he was like the boxer, like everyone knew him. So, and then my granddad was mates with him, so he said, "Look, try him first, and if you like it, then we'll go from there." And
Hmm.
I was with him for a few weeks, and he said, "Yeah, you've got talent, but I can't do anything with that. You need to go to an amateur gym and go from there." So, yeah,
Yeah. So did he? Was he fault? Did he come into the amateur gym at all, or was it there others that were instrumental in your
yeah. So
amateur career?
when when after that, I went down to the amateur gym, and I was with the same amateur coaches all the way through. Really, Dan Woolidge, who was a great coach, Jerome. Um, and then later on, as a senior, was Wayne Smith, who really helped me improve as a boxer. So I had like three coaches really
Yeah.
that I stayed with throughout. Because a lot of boxers nowadays, you see, they're like 5, 6 amateur clubs before they've even turned pro. They're like hopping around from club to club. I'm happy that I stayed with one club throughout and showed my loyalty and yeah.
And obviously, as you say, I mean, staying true to one thing, they've come followed you then into well, sort of fans, if you like, as you turned into the pro that you are then.
Yeah, so my amateur coach Wayne, he runs a business, Olympia Boxing, where he teaches boxing in schools, does like community sessions with people with Parkinson's, dementia,
Well,
and things like that. And he now sponsors me as a pro boxer. So I sort of come around full circle, really.
yeah.
So yeah, they've followed me into the professional boxing.
And yeah, COVID was an odd time for boxing, as you said. Amateurs had to stop. We couldn't do any amateur shows. I mean, I like being involved
No.
in the amateur shows as well to give back to the boxing community in that respect. Um, it was Frank Warren sort of doing the BT Studio stuff. Matchroom were doing
Yeah.
their at the home sort of stuff, and then there was also was it Goodwin or was it
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Fight
Yeah.
Zone? Fight Zone. What someone was doing in a Sheffield car
Yeah,
park.
Fight Zone.
It was
Yeah,
Fight Zone,
Fight
wasn't
Zone.
it? Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, a bit old now, forgetful. Did you start thinking, how do I get involved in those? Who did you approach? You said you went through, a couple of people. Who was instrumental in helping you get turn pro?
Yeah, so the plan was I was going to try a few coaches first and then see if who I like, see who I gelled with. And I messaged Adam Martin right at the start, really. And I was like, I'm turning pro. I don't know if you're taking on any more fighters. Would you be interested? And he got back to me and said, look, come to the gym tomorrow. And I was like, all right, I'll come to the gym tomorrow then. So I went up there just thinking, right, try him and then I'll move on, try someone else, try someone else. And then I just gelled with him instantly, really, and went, yeah, I'm gonna stay here. So I've been with Adam Martin now since the start. So I think it's coming up three years now. I think
I don't know, three
since
yeah,
since
three
I've
years
been
ago
pro.
since COVID, probably, yeah.
Yeah. So I've
Yeah,
I've been with him for three years now, and I've not looked back since. Like everything he said, he sort of tried to put me off professional boxing at the start. Really, he said, look, this is what professional boxing is. And I said, yeah, that's fine. Like he doesn't give you false promises or
no,
promise you the world. He tells you black and white what it is, and you can't come to him in a few years' time and say, you promised me this, you promised me that, and nothing's happened. So he said what he could do for me. He said, look, get you to around 10 fights, get you a Southern Area title shot, and then we'll go from there. And what he said he's done so far, really. So
yeah,
yeah, I've been really um he's put by his word, sort of thing.
yeah. Because I suppose it is. Until you've had that first couple of fights in the pro ring, it's different to amateur boxing in capacity. I mean, do you want to explain to our listeners what the sort of difference is, or
Yeah. Yeah, so this is actually I've got actually a little story. This is quite weird. So I remember turning pro and then I knew you had to sell tickets and stuff like that. And I've done all my tickets for my debut. And because it was COVID, you only had to do day before weigh-ins. So I thought,
Mhm.
oh, I've hit the jackpot here, day before weigh-in and everything. So I've turned up at this gym near me because the show was local at Moat Park in Maidstone. And they've gone to me, oh, do you want to come upstairs and do your money first? And I was like, yeah, okay. So I've gone upstairs, got my envelope out, got all this money on the table, and I'm like, this is weird. I don't like this. Like amateur boxing, you weigh in, you get your food, you box, and I'm sorting all this money out. And then they're going, oh, the opponent wanted extra for a late check-in in the hotel, so there's an extra 20, 30
Oh,
quid. I'm like, what is
okay,
what is going on? Like this doesn't feel like professional boxing, really.
mm.
And I say it to everyone when they say, oh, you're a professional boxer. I say it's not really that professional. Like it's as professional as you make it. Like it's not
Mm.
really professional at all. So yeah, you got to sort all your money out. You're paying your opponent, and then you got to weigh in. It's yeah, it's not great, but you sort of get on with it with the view for the bigger picture.
Okay, yeah, because I suppose it is a different setup to the amateurs in the fact that there are in our sport people who are paid to fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's a weird situation, but yeah, I get it, and it's there for a reason.
and it
Um,
and it doesn't really go on talent either. Like I'm not being horrible to some people, but you could be useless and sell loads of tickets, and you'll be on the show ahead of me because I do less tickets. Like it's a brutal way of looking at it, but that as long as people get their money, they don't really naturally Like they don't really care how good you are as long as you do the ticket. So you've got to be able to fight and sell tickets to really push yourself on.
So yeah, I mean, there's obviously discussions at the moment. There's always been discussions, always something going on in the background about how matches are made.
Mm,
And the UFC model comes up, Matchroom, kind of like this idea of having a league where boxers are matched more on talent,
yeah,
on ability, rather than the sort of older school version of promotion. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I can understand why you're saying that. It's not for me to get involved in that argument.
yeah,
That's down the promoters and
yeah.
the promoters and the managers to sort out between themselves. But I totally and utterly understand. So your pro debut was, where was that again?
In Mayston, so it was really local to me. It was the only time that I've boxed local since I've been a pro. It was quite lucky, really. Literally like 15 minutes down the road. And I had really good support for that. And I thought, oh, like, I think I sold like 110,
Wow.
120 tickets, and I was like, oh, this is easy. Like these tickets, they sell easy.
Yeah.
And then you have your second fight, your third fight, your fourth fight, and instead of going up, it goes down. And you don't expect that. Like you think it just goes up and up and up, and more
Yeah.
people get interested, but it actually goes the other way.
I suppose it's that, yeah, a drop off, but hopefully as we get further and further and the titles come and the
Exactly.
other things
And
come
then
and
and then you
people
box
come
like
back
I
to your interest.
boxed in February for the title, and then it goes back up. Like then you do the most amount of tickets you've ever done because it's a big
It's a
fight.
big fight.
And
Yeah.
then yeah, it's just the way it goes. It's like pigs and troughs really. It goes up and down, and you just got to take the highs and the lows of it really.
So as you mentioned there already, you've already been in a championship situation
Yeah.
for the southern area. And
Mm.
how does that differ then from a normal month show? How does that normal differ from a normal show in that capacity? What do you,
As
is there
in
special differences?
training and
Yeah, is there something you put yourself more through that, you can talk, obviously we could say here about sort of the difference between the amateurs, the pros, and then obviously
mm,
the championship sort of levels of pros, because you've been involved in the
yeah,
championship levels of amateurs as well. So
yeah.
how does that all differ, or is it similar? Is there similarities between the yeah? Does that make sense? The question.
Yeah. So there is similarities between, say, a national final in the amateur boxing and a championship fight in the pro boxing. It's all about like intensity, really. So the intensity increases in training. Obviously, it differs because it's 3 3-minute rounds in the amateurs, and there'd
Yeah,
be 10 threes as a pro. So obviously, there's differences, but the intensity is still the same. Everyone's focused on you. You're sort of like the center of the show. They're thinking, right, we got to get them ready for a title fight or the championships or something like that. So
hmm.
there's more sparring. You go from, say you're boxing a 6 rounder, you're doing 6 round spars, to now you're doing 10 round spars twice a week. So the intensity with the sparring's a lot more wear and tear with that. And yeah, and like from the promotion side as well, it's such a big difference between a 6 rounder to a title fight. There's much more promotion. You're doing interviews. Everyone sort of wants to know you a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, you do notice a real difference with it. And then obviously, if it doesn't go your way like it did, and then you've got to go back down to a 6 rounder, you really notice the difference then, sort of thing.
So yeah, so going back to what you're saying, obviously your intensity levels have changed. How do you manage that then? Obviously, are you? I don't know your situation outside of boxing, but are you working at the moment? Are you in employment, or are you able to focus on boxing full time? I know a lot of boxers don't get to that level until
Mm.
much later in their career, when they've got some championship gold under their belt and they've got some sponsorship deal or something with TV money as well to come.
Yeah, so I've been lucky really since probably my first year as a pro. I've been sponsored full time to just box, so I get a monthly
Okay.
wage from my sponsors, L&S Carpentry. So I've been really lucky. Like you look at professional boxing, I'd probably say you're looking at about 80% probably have to work and juggle boxing and work full time. They have families, they've got to pay mortgages. Like it's
Yeah.
impossible to live off boxing money. So I've been blessed really with the sponsors I have, and especially L&S Carpentry. they give me a full time wage just to train and focus on my boxing. So I've been really lucky.
I respect to them for that because yeah, that
Yeah,
this game and that level, like you say, it doesn't come cheap. Food
no,
and camps and people don't realize how it is. And you said obviously the level of intensity increases. So how do you mitigate against damage to yourself? The injuries we hear regularly stories of fights being pulled because of injuries. How do you? Is
mm.
there a way you mitigate that? Is there a way that you sort of try to avoid stuff or?
Yeah, you try to, yeah, like you if you're really feeling it that week, you take a day, try and take a day off, or
Mm,
maybe the weekend off if you feel like you're really pushing it too far. But it's boxing at the end of the day. You've got to go through the pain barrier. You've got to get to like physical, like the shape of your life every time you step in the ring. 'Cause it's such a dangerous sport. So it unfortunately boxing and injuries come hand in hand. I've had
mm,
my own injuries when I was boxing for the Southern area last October. I perforated my eardrum a week before the fight in my last spar, so I had to get rescheduled. So it unfortunately it happens, and mentally it's so tough, like to get it ripped away from you a week before the fight. But then you just got to shrug it off and try and then
mm.
get back on it. It's unfortunate, it's part and parcel of boxing.
And do you do anything to help with your mental health as well? Do you do anything like like you say, you take a day out, but I mean that's just occasionally. Do you do anything like um, yoga or anything like that, or something to help keep your mind focused on what you're hoping to achieve?
Not really, no, no, just not mentally, not really, but I've got a physio that keeps me in top shape, like physically, but
Yeah.
mentally, not really, no.
Okay. Cool. So obviously, yeah. So we've already been in the game for a little bit of championship gold. Unfortunately, didn't go the way we wanted it
Yeah.
to. Um, what what sort of things are you looking to do in the future? Obviously, hopefully get a rematch or an opportunity again for an area title or even a England championship, or and then obviously moving on. I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's the plan. Like it didn't go my way in February, and like I wasn't happy with the way I boxed at all. Really, Weber Kane's a good fighter, and like full respect to him. At the end of the day, I'm not taking nothing away from him.
Mm,
But when I look at I just wasn't at the races really, and there was a few things behind the scenes, and things happened, and that. And as soon as it happened, I spoke to Adam, and I went, that's my fault. That's no one else's fault. That's me. I took full responsibility, and I dusted myself off and got straight back in the gym. For right, this is what I need to work on. Sometimes when you keep winning, you let things go, sort of thing. You just
mm,
think everything's fine because you're winning. When you lost, everything comes under sort of scrutiny. You think, was that right? Was that right? Was that right? And you can really like get a closer look on what wasn't working, what was working. So I literally dusted myself off, made a few little changes, and yeah, got straight back in the gym. So I had my comeback fight in May,
mm,
um, which it was good to get in there, but then I broke my hand in the process. So that was more of a setback. I had a couple of operations to get it right. So I've literally just come out the cast. So I'm hoping we'll get one November, December once the rehab's done, and then get a title fight again in February. So that's the plan. Get back on the horse, get another win, get the confidence higher and higher, and then because the last fight really didn't feel like a comeback fight because of what happened with the hand, so get another one in,
mm.
and then push on for titles in February. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, the injury, like like I said earlier, I was alluding to this because you've been in cast for 2 months, was it now?
yeah, 9 weeks. So I broke my hand on the 25th of May, something like that, I think,
Yeah.
and then the week after I had my first operation. I went into a cast. They X-rayed it and they said, "Oh, the operation's not worked. It wasn't in place properly."
Mm,
So literally the week after I had my second operation, and then I was in that for another 6 weeks. So in 9 weeks all in, I was basically in a
yeah.
slab cast, and
Uh,
I've just come out of it.
how do
So
you maintain? your physical, because obviously you can't spar, you can't punch really with a hand.
No.
So what are you doing with yourself to keep yourself active and busy and a mind off this situation?
Yeah, like physically, it wasn't as bad. Like the pain, I'd take it every day of the week, but mentally, it was terrible. Like
Mm,
boxing, something I've done every day since I was 10. I couldn't remember where I've took more than, even when I lost, I took 2 weeks off. I think, or not even that long.
mm,
Like I've never took more than a few weeks off the gym ever. So mentally, it was so hard to find something to do. Like it was so bad, really, looking back. So I just tried to. I stayed in the gym as much as I could. Have done a lot of one-handed stuff on the pads, on the
mm,
bag,
mm.
and yeah, just it was. To be fair, it was a real rough time the last 9 weeks. I'm happy that finally I'm nearly on the
Yeah,
other side of it now.
yeah. And then obviously then back in your, so you'll be back in the gym now, going gently to start off with, working
Yeah.
into some heavier routines and keep an eye on that hand and seeing how that progresses. Obviously, it's early days at this moment in time, so you wouldn't be able to sort of know that perhaps there might be a change in your style or your performance.
Yeah, so the surgeon said to me, once I've come out of the cast, I had these wires and they pulled these wires out of my hand and they said, you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks before you're even back punching again
Mm,
after the cast. So it's been a week now, so I've probably got about 5, 6, 7 weeks to go until I can punch again.
yeah.
The surgeon said, look, I can't promise anything. It was quite a bad break. I'd look at
Mm,
getting another job.
oh,
Um, but the physio who I've been with since my pro debut was like, no, we'll get that rehabbed. We'll get that. That'd be fine. So I'm making good
good,
progress with it.
good.
The mobility's getting better. The pain's going down. So yeah, I think I think by end of September, hopefully I'll be back punching maybe,
Good stuff.
and then we can look at getting a fight date and getting
Good
back
stuff.
in there.
Good stuff. And as you say, looking for next year, hopefully we can back in the ring and we'll be back in the championship situations. Where
Mm.
would you like to take your boxing career? Where would you like to go with it all?
Yeah, so like obviously the little setback in February, I want to win the Southern area, tick that off the list, get back to I know how good I am. So it's more about performances really. Like the last couple of fights, I don't think I performed to my best. Um, with the loss, and then obviously I broke my hand, so
Mm,
it's hard to perform good with one hand. So you got to take that with into consideration. But I want to get back to performing to my best really, and I know when I perform at my best, I'm hard to beat for anyone. So I think win the Southern area and then go from there. The goal is always still the same, to be British champion. That's not
okay.
changed. So that's still the plan. But start with the Southern area and then just yeah, performances will lead me on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, it is a beautiful belt, the British.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, yeah, I love it.
When you look at you look at the other ones, yeah, the WPC and it's green, it's nice, it's okay,
Mm.
and then you've got you see the eagle on the IBF, um, it does stand out as I think one of the best belts in boxing.
Yeah, by far.
nay wrestling, nay MMA or anything. It's such a classic style, and
Yeah,
yeah, rightly so. There's so many great British champions we've had
and it brings
over
out the
the years
best
as well.
fights. I feel like as well. It always brings out great
I think
fights.
I'll agree with you on that one because obviously you watch some of the British ones. They are almost always tear ups.
Yeah,
With some of the best domestic boxers we've got here in the UK.
yeah. It just
Um,
it just brings out the best in everyone. They see British title on the line and they push that extra 5, 10%,
yeah,
and leave it all in there.
I think sometimes more than the world because the worlds are they're a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one. So okay, so yeah, but I suppose you haven't probably a little bit. This is a curveball that I throw to most people, is that you probably haven't thought about it, but outside of boxing, beyond boxing, is there something that you think actually that's what I'd like to achieve after when I've done it all. I've got everything I'm happy with, and I
Mm.
can retire from boxing happy. What would Rob be doing?
Yeah, I'd like to open a gym, to be honest. Open a gym and start training kids and then amateurs and then hopefully pros, and just give back a bit of time that was given to me, really. So that's the plan. That's always been the plan. I like stay in boxing. It's all I know. So I've basically got a degree in it. So yeah, stay in boxing, coach, and what I've learned, teach others.
Good man, good man, good stuff. Well, yeah, no, I think obviously beyond boxing, there's so much you could do, and obviously, like you say, you open up your gym. I wish you every success with that as well in the future. But I wish you every success first and foremost in the ring, with everything you hope to achieve, and I look forward to seeing you because our history has been a little bit linked together. Obviously, by me being able to announce you in the York Hall when we've done
Yeah.
TM shows.
How many fights you've done for me now, do you reckon?
I don't know. Without looking at your record on BoxRec,
I want to say three.
I want to
I
say
think
three as
three or
well. Three was
four.
where
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
because you've been on a couple, and I've gone, yeah. And I think was I there that night? No,
No, I reckon
I
you've done
wasn't.
four. I reckon you've done four because I've done the body shot stoppage, and I feel like you was doing that.
I think so. Yeah.
I think then I boxed someone called Duran, and I think you done that one in September
Yeah.
last year, and then you done October for the February for the Southern Area fight, and then my recent one just gone. So I want to say four.
Oh, it's
I
okay.
think.
I'll take your word on that because I can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
As I said to you earlier, I'm getting old and I forget things.
You do a
Uh,
lot of shows as well.
it's not even that. My partner always says to me, she's like, "You're really good at saying the names, John. You're not very good at remembering them afterwards."
Yeah,
It's true. It is true. And I say so many names, you just kind of, yeah, they do. Unless there's certain people you get to know people, and that's one of the best things about boxing is that I've gotten to know so many people over the years, so many people I could call friends now as well, and I look forward to seeing them on shows. I'm sure
and always the same faces at the boxing shows as well, don't you
yeah,
think?
and
Always like, oh,
it's
you were
always
there again,
yeah,
and
it's always nice to make new friends and make new people and create friendships. But it's always good to see the people that you know, like at the when they're at the shows as well, and you're saying hello and walking in. And it's all that. Yeah, and it's good. So yeah, but quick. Rapid fire questions then for you, which I've done for a
yep,
few people. Southpaw or orthodox?
orthodox. I hate Southpaws.
Mayweather or Pacquiao?
Mayweather,
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi,
And Joshua, AJ, or Fury?
AJ.
AJ seems to win an awful lot of people. You don't have to explain it
Really?
why. Yeah, I just kind of hope that fight comes off.
Yeah, I
I
hope
still
so
would love
too.
that fight to come off, and I know a lot of people would love to watch that fight. Heavyweight division's kind of a bit wide open at the moment, so it's no longer locked down. So it's who's next? What's next for Usyk? Well, who knows? I'm sure we'll find out in days to come. But there you go. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's
so
all
much
right.
for coming on. I
Thanks for
really
having me on.
appreciate it. No, thank you, brother. Thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on and explaining, obviously, showing people where you are and where you're coming from. Again, we just like this, the whole idea of this podcast is to hype you and make sure that perhaps you get some new fans. So how do people follow you? How can they follow you? Is there socials?
Yeah, so on Instagram it's Robert Caswell. On Facebook it's Robert Caswell. On Twitter I think it's Rob Caswell One. I don't really use Twitter, but everyone keeps telling me to use it because it actually does work. So
Does work.
yeah, so they're all free.
Fantastic. So if you want to get involved, get in contact with Rob. When's your we will see you again real soon, and we'll be in contact with you. And we look forward to seeing you in the future and everything you do.
Hopefully end of the year I'll be back out and hopefully you're announcing a fight for me.
I'm sure I will. I'll make
Yeah.
sure I'm available.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Take care. Have a good
Cheers.
evening.
Thanks.
Ta-ra.